First of all, I'm going to talk about paper. When I made the prototype for the menorah for Hanukkah, I used some very, very thin watercolour paper. I think it's probably only £90 or something like that. And it was ideal for making this model. When I made another one, this one, I used thicker, well, the £140 watercolour paper, the more standard weight, and it was much too thick to get the base to stick into the inside very easily. It was a real struggle. So I would recommend that you use the very lightest weight watercolour paper you can get your hands on, or a good quality sketchbook cartridge paper. Here's it's not a really expensive sketchbook, but it's fairly decent paper, and there's a couple of sheets I've pulled out ready to prepare with colour. And I've also got in here some pieces of magazine paper, which I thought would be nice to use as well. Obviously it's a thick glossy magazine, nice quality paper. That's slightly thin perhaps, but this looks like it came off. Yeah, this is off the cover of a seed catalogue, and that, you can hear the quality of that paper. I think that would be lovely to make one out of. But I will start off by getting some staining done. Let's think about a colour to use this time. Not used purple for a while. As I'm using purple, I can also use my purplish blue and my dark red, because those together make a kind of quite a good purple. So that's ultramarine. Okay, just darkens and cools it a little bit. And then of course this is my maroon colour. You'll probably more likely have alizarin crimson, which is a bit brighter. It's a very strong colour. Maroon pyrolean. Jazz that up with a bit more purple. It's a bit of a dull colour, that, isn't it? A bit browny. Let's get some more nice bright ultramarine going back in there. So I'm just getting a variety of purples. And because it's cartridge paper, it's soaking up the water quite quickly, and it'll dry quickly, but it will dry quite cockled. So I'm going to finish doing this mark making, and then I'll put it away under some weights to dry, and then it'll dry a bit flatter. Nice just to have some fun. Go with the flow. The paper with gold on that I'm going to use for the flames is a piece I've been testing with different gold inks and paints and some embossing gold there, and here some imitation gold leaf, which has a gorgeous shine to it. I'll show you what I used. There's a packet here, imitation gold, and what you do is you put this very thin, watery, acrylic gold size adhesive onto the surface you want to attach the gold leaf to. You let it dry a bit for about 15 minutes, and then you put the gold leaf on, which looks like this. It's really, really fragile, and the slightest touch makes it fly away. Now I've found that, there we are, there it is. The best way to handle it is to use brushes to pick it up with. Don't try and use your fingers because it just ends up in a little crumpled mess. But if you get, I find a synthetic brush is the best, and if you actually build up a bit of static with the brush, it picks up the gold. Look at that. And then you can use another brush to hold down the bit that you don't want to use. If you just want to tear a bit off, you can pull it away with the synthetic brush. No, I'm not going to do any more of that now, so I'll just put it away without breathing. Really is so fine, but quite fun to use. And that's the piece I'll be using to do the flames with. Now the thing is, what I wanted to say is it's best if your flames are made out of a piece of paper that's gold on one side and dark on the other, because they're going to be folded down on the days when we're not having those flames lit. And so you don't want, well, it looks better if it's not white. Okay, so on the prototype, obviously everything's just white, but when the flames are up, they show the gold, and when they're down, they just look dark. I'm just going to hold this strip of flames in place while I score the fold and cut them out. I don't want the white paper stuck to my black paper, but where the flames are, so I'm just sticking it at the ends, which is going to be thrown away. Let's check we've got a nice amount of gold there. Yep, there I think is the best spot. So I'll do the score line. Indentation through that paper, and it should give me, yep, it's given me a nice little score line inside there, so I can cut them out as long as I keep tight hold here. And each flame will be scored ready for folding. Yeah, one scored flame. Yeah. Lovely. Nine. Now, as the front and back are the same shape, I can do a fold here and cut two out at once, just making sure that I've got enough room there for the base. So let's make a fold here. Quite a nice patterny bit. I only need to draw around this once if I can find my pencil. Here we are. Of course, if you're able to photocopy onto card, it makes your template easier to use. Mine's just on paper, so it's okay, but much easier to draw around it if it's card. Actually, I've just thought putting this on the fold will probably mean I don't actually have to cut each piece out separately. I can just leave that fold intact and everything's going to work out okay, I think. But of course it's up to you. You could make your back and front out of different coloured pieces of paper if you prefer. But I think this is going to be quite a good way to do it if you're using the same colour front and back. Can you see the ghostly face? It's from a sketch in my sketchbook that I wasn't really wasn't really a useful sketch, just a piece of practice. Now, you see, what I should be able to do is just flip that over, and I've got the front and back already attached to each other. That's rather pleasing. There you go. Previous ones I've made, I've cut them out separately and had to glue them together. That makes a lot more sense to me. But what I will need is the front template to cut this shape out of, which is for where the ninth flame, or the attendant flame, which is the flame that all the other flames are lit from. If you've got a real menorah that is a candle lit one. So if I just place template on, and then what I'm going to do is get it nice and carefully lined up. Using my craft knife and a ruler. Cut along that line. And that line. Carefully turn it around without moving the layers. And that line to create the piece that pops out at the front. Oh yes, I also need to score those, don't I? There's going to be a fold here. I'll score that. And that, so that I can fold nice and straight. Okay, and that just shows you where the glue is going to go inside for sticking the base. Oh, nearly went through. Just a little bit got missed there. Okay, like that. So that fold, if I can find it, goes this way. And the other fold goes this way. There we are. Straighten it up a little bit. There. So that little piece sticks out at the front. Of course, when it's all stuck together, you will end up with a bit of white showing there. So what you can do is get a scrap. Let's just show you. Get a scrap of the same colour paper and stick that inside. All right, so it just covers over the white there. Yep. Okay, so just put a bit of glue around the edge there. Mod Podge, as ever. PVA is fine, but I do find Mod Podge is a little bit stronger and a little bit less likely to make the paper cockle. It's quite expensive, I suppose, but this pot I've got in use at the moment, I think was about £8, but it is lasting quite a long time. Especially if I remember to put the lid on. just covers over the white of the inside. Okay, lovely. Now, let's do the base. A little bit more fiddly, the base, so it'll take some time to do. And there's going to be, from here, that'll be scored, 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 scored. Not there, not scored there. Scored and scored. Okay, not scored there. That's just where the glue goes. And all the scored lines meet at this point here. Okay, all scored ready. Now I shall cut out. We save the lovely scraps, of course. Can make something else. I was going to say as well, of course, if you don't have gold for doing your flames with, yellow or orange works just as well. I've got some, I'm just looking at my scraps, so yeah, look, I've got a scrap there that I cut some flames out of for another one that I made. So that was just as effective. Well, it was effective in a different way. And that one has a, instead of using gold, I suppose you could use silver as well if you, it depends what you've got. Be creative. Okay, so folding, I tell you what, it's easier to fold along the ruler, isn't it? Always easier to take the first bend along the ruler. There you go. That's it. This second one can go either way. That way or the other way. I'll show you why. So you see, it can go that way or it can go that way. Inside or outside. When you set it up, you open the base into a square based pyramid. That fold there is just so that you can put it flat to post it if you're going to send it to somebody. This is a test of whether your cutting has been accurate. I think you'll find the template is pretty accurate, so as long as you follow it quite carefully, you should get a nice crisp shape to your base. Just the one on the side that goes either way. And then that's the last fold which takes it round the back. Right, okay, so just need to put glue along that area there. No, we don't. We need to put glue along that area there on the coloured side. My mistake. That just fits exactly there. Oh, that's still sliding. I'm going to fold those in and make sure everything lies flat. There we go. Now, of course, that shape by itself would make a cool little Christmas tree, I think. So you could just make a pile of those, make a pile of bases, and you've got little stand-up Christmas trees. They're quite nice. Anyway, it's going to be, in this case, it's going to be for Menorah. Now, I think perhaps it would be a good idea. What I'm going to do is to draw my triangle here on so that I know where to position that little thing. So I'm just going to cut up there, fold that out of the way. Makes it easier to see where I'm going to stick it. Okay. My pencil and just to mark in. The other side as well. There we are. And I've got glue there and glue there. Pop this in between. Now this is the handy thing about having a squared cutting mat to work on, because you can get everything quite nicely lined up. Let's just glue this thing down a bit as well. Because you don't want it sitting squiffy. Well, if you do, don't worry, but perhaps it's going to look better if it sits as straight as you can make it. Okay, ready for the base. I also want to have it glued down at the top, so everything's going to come into place at once. Just some glue just below where the main candles are, and on each of these 8 sections, like that. Right, now then, if I line it up with the fold on this line here, right, and then get this into place and make sure the base is lined up against this fold, it should sit nice and straight. Fingers crossed. Put everything down. Squidge it a little bit to make sure it's nice and aligned. And say a little prayer. Did it work? Is it all lined up? The test will be, just going to let it dry a little bit. Should have said, of course, the seam I've put at the back. The seam there where the base is joined, I'll put at the back. Didn't glue this area down because I want it to be able to separate when the base is opened up. Now it looks nice and straight. Yeah, see how if I put that against this line, the base lines up against that line. Cool. And of course we have to stick the candles on. Here we are. So each folded flame just needs a little bit of glue on the bottom and then sticking on each of the holders. Sort of, the first one of these I made was for my daughter when she went to university, and it was kind of inspired by the Christmas advent calendars with the little doors that open. There we are, there's the first one. Shows up nicely against the purple when it catches the light. There we are, all stuck on and ready for first night, second night, third night, fourth night, fifth night, sixth night, seventh night and eighth night of Hanukkah. Now that's plain and simple, but of course you can embellish. You can stitch in if you like. It looks quite nice with blanket stitch around the edge. Or you could glue more glitter on, or some stars, or make it lots of different colours. Different colour on the front to the back. But basically that's the shape, which makes a nice little poster ball paper. Hanukkah.